I had 2 cranial aneurysms. And they literally had to take the top of my head off. I mean, they take a saw and they cut your head off.
Welcome back to, I guess we're in the midst of our 34-hour broadcast here at the InfoWars Central Texas Command Center. I'm your host, Rob Dew, taking you to the midnight hour. Joining me in about 30 minutes will be Will Johnson. We're going to be taking your phone calls, talking news, and anything else that pops up on my Twitter feed. Let's see, the callers coming up. We have Brandon in Texas, Jefferson in Virginia, Pastor Sam in Mexico. Definitely want to hear from him. And Nicole in New Jersey. Now, I put together these clips because I really want, and it's easy, it's kind of like low-hanging fruit, calling out Joe Biden, because right now he is the front runner. I was kind of hoping he would run for president because then we could show endless amounts of groping videos. He seemed to brush that off. Yeah, he seemed to scratch that. Like, groping's not too bad. But he just said, this is a clip that came out the other day. And I'm going to go through these, and we're going to kind of just let Joe speak, and then we're going to show that he's a freaking idiot. So here's Joe Biden on ISIS.
As vice president, I worked with President Obama to craft the military and diplomatic campaign that ultimately defeated ISIS.
What?
In fact, it turned out Trump's secret weapon to destroy the so-called caliphate was a continuation of the plan we put in place with personnel that we had put in place.
Oh, damn, Joe. You mean the plan to give them all brand new Toyota trucks? You mean the plan to give them Stinger missiles? What plan are you talking about, Joe? Because that's pretty interesting. Here's President Obama on, I guess, this plan that you speak of. This is what Obama thought of it.
They end up where they are in control of so much territory. Was that a complete surprise to you?
Well, I think our head of the intelligence community, Jim Clapper, has acknowledged that I think they underestimated what had been taking place in Syria. Essentially what happened with ISIL was that you had Al-Qaeda in Iraq, which was a vicious group, but our Marines were able to quash with the help of Sunni tribes. They went back underground.
Let's go. This is what Trump thought of this plan that Obama and Biden and Clinton had about ISIS. This is what Trump thought of the plan.
ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS, okay? He's the founder. He founded ISIS.
He said that 4 times now.
I would say the co-founder would be crooked Hillary Clinton. Co-founder, crooked Hillary Clinton.
Those are strong words. Founder and co-founder. And now here's Sebastian Gorka explaining, maybe we should send this to Biden so he can see this. Here's Sebastian Gorka about how Obama helped create ISIS.
When this senator from Illinois became the president of America, there was no such thing as ISIS. There was a regional franchise of Al-Qaeda called Al-Qaeda in Iraq, limited solely to Iraq. After he became president, after he appointed Hillary Clinton as his Secretary of State, after we pulled our troops out of Iraq, had our disastrous policies in Syria and Libya, this franchise became a multi-nation regional insurgency, capturing territory in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, having a franchise in Nigeria in the form of Boko Haram, to the point today where it has recruited 80,000 jihadis and has 6 million human beings on its territory. That happened under President Obama's watch, Stuart.
I guess that was the plan, though, right? That was the plan. So he's right. They did have a plan to make ISIS. I guess to defeat ISIS, they had to make them grow so they could defeat him. Now let's go to Russian hacking, because Joe Biden, even though, what have we heard from the mainstream media? That the Russians hacked the election, that they took our precious democracy and turned it inside out with $100,000 in Facebook ads. And you better believe that. And a troll farm run by Putin's chef. Okay? But here's what Joe Biden had to say about the Russian hacking, and I kind of agree with Joe on this one.
NATO, Chris. So no one nation could abuse the power in the region, in Europe, that would suck us in the way they did in World War I and World War II. It's being crushed. Look at what's happening with Putin. While Putin is trying to undo our elections, he is undoing elections in Europe. Look what's happened in Hungary. Look what's happened in Poland. Look what's happened in Moldova. Look what's happening. You think that would have happened on my watch or Barack's watch? You can't answer that, but I promise you it wouldn't have. And it didn't.
It didn't happen under their watch. There was no Russian hacking. They didn't hack the election like everybody says. I mean, I kind of agree with Joe on that one. All right, now, Joe Biden president for 8 years. Vice president for 8 years. I just had Joe Biden president for 8 years. That'd be terrible. But Joe Biden, when he was vice president, him and Barack had 8 years to pull the troops out of Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Africa, all over the place. But if we vote him in as president, this is what he's going to do. He's finally going to do it. Here it is.
It's long past time we end the forever wars, which have cost us untold blood and treasure. I have long argued that we should bring home the vast majority of our combat troops from the wars in Afghanistan and the Middle East and narrowly focus on our mission to deal with al-Qaeda and ISIS in the region.
Yeah. So if we give him another chance, he's going to bring the troops home. All right? Now, even bigger than that, I talked about this with Mike Adams. This is also what he's going to do on the healthcare front if he's elected president. Let's go to clip 7.
I wish you, if I'm elected president, you're going to see the single most important thing that changes in America is we're going to cure cancer.
You know, why do these things when you're vice president when you can do them when you're president, right? Just take a 4-year break, go make $15 million giving speeches, and you can cure cancer. Here's another gaffe Biden said. He claimed his administration with him and Barack was scandal-free. Now, this is a little bit of a compilation. It's about 5 minutes, and we got time. So let's go to that one. This is a funny one. You're going to like this.
You know, I was most proud of, for 8 years,
Tell
there
us.
wasn't one single hint of a scandal or a lie.
President under pressure from a trifecta of scandals.
President Barack Obama trying to get ahead of just one of the 3 scandals now consuming the country's attention.
That scandal involving the Secret Service and accusations of drinking and hiring prostitutes in Colombia.
The Obama spying scandal.
The mother of all scandals, Spygate.
This is a big scandal.
It's a huge scandal.
The Gunwalker scandal.
The VA scandal.
VA scandal.
It's a scandal telling America you can keep your doctor, a callous deception that hurts millions.
Today, widespread embarrassment about this scandal has really turned to disgust.
All of this comes as a White House that takes pride in being scandal-free has been hammered by a series of controversies.
President Obama is fending off incoming fire on
what went wrong in Benghazi and whether
this seems like a genuine
third scandal.
The latest, revelations the Justice Department obtained 2 months of telephone records of reporters at the Associated Press as part of a leak investigation.
The Attorney General says he recused himself from the probe early on because he was one of the officials who had access to the information that was leaked.
I believe there's been a pattern by this administration in not taking responsibility for failures, avoiding blame, pointing the fingers in somebody else's direction. Would you agree with that?
No. For 8 years, there wasn't one single hint of a scandal.
The CIA went into walled-off Senate computers in a bona fide investigation that's being done of the detention and interrogation of detainees.
As far as the allegations of, CIA hacking into, Senate computers, nothing could be further from the truth.
And it isn't the first time. It's actually the 3rd time.
CIA Director John Brennan apologized today after an internal investigation determined the agency had spied on staff members of the United States Senate.
Firestorm surrounding the IRS. Last night, we asked if what they did was fair. Tonight, the FBI is asking, was it criminal?
House Speaker John Boehner led the way this morning as Republicans stepped up demands for action in the scandal at the Internal Revenue Service.
My question isn't about who's going to resign. My question is, who's going to jail?
And the president? Well, he says he did not know the IRS was singling out conservative groups until the news broke.
I first learned about it from the same news reports that I think most people learned about this.
Politically motivated audits are so obviously wrong, they've even been comedy fodder for the president.
President Crow and the Board of Regents will soon learn about being audited by the IRS.
Ms. Lerner, why would you say Tea Party cases were very dangerous?
My counsel has advised me that I have not waived my constitutional rights under the Fifth Amendment, and on his advice, I will decline to answer any question on the subject matter of this hearing.
Did you ever discern any anti-Tea Party or anti-conservative bias, or was it just bureaucratic demands that just were never ending?
There's absolutely no targeting. This is the kind of back and forth that happens when people apply for 501c4 status.
It's obvious that they were trying to make the process as difficult as possible, and they're still, to this day, stringing Tea Party patriots along.
In the years before the election, more liberal groups were being approved, while conservative groups with names like Patriot, Constitution, and Tea Party were stymied. In 2011, not a single Tea Party group was approved.
Operation Fast and Furious, an Obama administration program that let thousands of assault weapons fall into the hands of violent Mexican drug cartels. Guns found at over 170 crime scenes, including the murder of a U.S. Border Patrol agent. The Obama administration denied the program's existence and withheld information to protect political appointees. The Dallas Morning News calls this a cover-up. Will anyone be held accountable?
There wasn't one single hint.
My main concern is fixing a problem.
New questions over who is to blame for the deaths of some of America's most elite warriors in a helicopter crash. Their families suggest that the White House and others are lying about their deaths and what led to them.
93 days after killing bin Laden, all of a sudden you're going to put 22 of the most elite in SEAL Team 6 in the world and 8 other great Americans into a Chinook over the battle. Michael, being a crypto, the code for them is serving silence. And that silence was broken by our administration. And all of a sudden there's movies, SEAL Team 6, documentary, SEAL Team 6, SEAL Team 6, this. Where did it all start? Joe Biden in Delaware in a tuxedo with a half a load on, telling everybody it was the elite Navy SEAL team.
Now to the VA scandal, which is now a criminal investigation. An extensive new report reveals more than 100,000 veterans waited months to see a doctor or never saw one at all. And some workers saying they were pressured to falsify records.
Now the VA scandal has officially become a criminal investigation.
I think I'm either low IQ or slow, or I don't know what I am. Slow Joe Biden.
Well, that's a whole lot of not scandals, right? I mean, I almost had a break right there. That was like, 5 minutes and 30 seconds of no scandals in the Obama administration. Now, I think I know why Joe thinks he's going to cure cancer and they defeated ISIS and the economy was great. I should have found that one too. The economy was great, that it's their economy, and that there was no Russian hacking, which actually there wasn't. And he's going to pull the troops out and cure cancer. I know why he's doing all this. It has to go back to the 1980s when he really had a problem with groping little girls, and then he went under the knife. And I don't know if it got better or got worse. I can't tell at this point, because when you watch a video of groping Joe, he seems to have not changed his ways. But I think this is the reason why Joe Biden is the way he is. Yeah, there he is right there. Ooh, look at that. God, that guy's creepy. All right, let's go to the last clip.
I had 2 cranial aneurysms, and they literally had to take the top of my head off. I mean, they take a saw and they cut your head off. And 8 years in the White House, he will forever and fundamentally alter the character of this nation and go in to find the artery that is, one was leaking, the other that hadn't. I said, Doc, what are my chances? I had two great neurosurgeons. He said, Senator, for mortality or morbidity? And I'm thinking, I said, what are my chances of getting off this table and being completely normal? I'll bet you're as bright as you're good looking. I tell you what. He said, well, your chances of living are a lot better. All right? And by the way, that's one of the things that's a dangerous idea. You know, as these guys will tell you.
This is after he was called out
you
for the
molested on C-SPAN at the Senate swearing in.
And they literally had to take the top of my head off. I mean, they take a saw and they cut your head off.
That's not doctoring. No, I don't see Joe Biden as a threat. No, I don't see him as a threat. I think he's only a threat to himself. He's been there a long time. His record's not good. He'd have to run on the Obama failed record.
Sometimes grown-ups touch kids in ways
Oh,
they
a little
don't like.
PSA.
I was
a little
wrestling
PSA
with
here.
my uncle, and it changed. It felt icky. When touching feels funny, it's hard to know what to do. He said I shouldn't tell anyone. If that ever happens to you, say no. No. Then go. Go. And tell someone you trust. Tell. Say no. Then go. And tell. A message from the American Medical Association.
Yeah, even Webster was trying to tell us. Wow. So that's my little expose on Joe Biden, and we'll just keep adding to it as he remains the front runner. You know this thing is fixed. I mean, it's pathetic that guy gets to shuffle around like a Skeksis and tell us how we need to live our lives. All right, we got about 7 minutes before we go to break. We're going to bring Will Johnson in here. But let's go to Brandon in Texas. Let's talk about MAGA hat family issues. I can't wait to hear this. Brandon, go ahead.
Hey, Rob. Brandon here in FEMA Region 6. Yeah, thanks for taking my call. A little plug. I mean, if people out there aren't filtering their water and taking iodine yet, just those two things alone are really life changers for me for about the past 2 years. So thank you guys for all you do. I've been spending so much money. I got my Clown World shirt. So awesome. So awesome. Love all the products. But real quick, yeah, the shirt is awesome. If there's any left and people want to order one, they're really soft and like the print's great. But anyways,
I got a
the reason
Clown
I'm
World
calling-
koozie that we made custom here. That showed up one day, and I said, that's mine. Go ahead.
Oh, man, you got to put those on the site. You got to put them on. Yeah, become the flagship of the term Clown World, right? I mean, we all know what's going on. But I'll get to the reason I'm calling. So I went to my high school reunion, and just to, spice things up, I wore my MAGA hat. Interesting side note, the only people who were hating on me were like teachers and administrators of schools. It was really weird. But anyways, I haven't been on Facebook for about 2 years, but obviously some of these photos circulated around Facebook, and my Jewish grandmother calls me up the other day and says, Brandon, I saw some of your pictures. She goes, you're not a white supremacist, are you? These were her exact words. And so that's when things came full circle for me. I'm like, wait a second, my Jewish grandmother is asking me if I'm a white supremacist. I'm like, Grandma, does that make any sense to you? But here's what I think real quick, and I want your opinion on this, because I think we talk a lot about censorship and Facebook and mainstream media. Like my grandmother watches Rachel Maddow every night. I wonder where she got the idea that I'm a white supremacist. But I believe these are just the tools. I believe Facebook and our iPhones and the mainstream media are just the tools. But I think the root here of what's being carried out is the Countering Disinformation and Propaganda Act that Obama slipped in on his way out, because that's what kind of authorizes all this. Am I right? And I've asked Alex Jones about this, and he just says it's embedded in some defense bill or some, you know what I mean? It's like, I think there's not enough attention being paid to this Propaganda Act. And what do you think about that? And what can we do to go about like reversing it?
Well, I think the funding, in fact, ran out at some point because there were all these layoffs that were happening on Vice, and I forget the other companies, but they were having massive layoffs. And so I think the money they were getting for this to push these government ideas, and whoever was coming up with this stuff, the sociologists and the anthropologists that get together and try to steer humanity into a socialist paradigm. I think all that stuff got underfunded, or it's being underfunded now. So there's Vice Media layoff 10%. So that's Vice. I forget the other one. It might have been BuzzBleed. They might have also had some layoffs. But I think we're seeing that because the money, and also some of these groups that were looking at the internet, looking at they were truth. What do they call them? Truth seekers or truth factors. They were saying what's true and what's false. The Snopes out there, the Snopes of the world. I think those people also lost. Those groups lost funding. So I think we're slowly seeing the turn of that. And what's taking its place now that the algorithm has been fed what's good and what's bad, now the algorithm can do some more of its own crafting, and they can stick things in there. And that's why you're seeing more people get censored now that the funding has gone out. So they're not being censored manually. Now they're just cutting people off. So I think once you hit a certain number of little dings, whatever happens, you get on a little chart and there's a ding that happens to your name every time you do something the system doesn't like. And then they bring that down. But I totally agree. Facebook is a portal. The phone is a portal. The TV is a portal. It's all the portals for these ideas in which to go right through your third eye into your subconscious and train you, with mind control techniques and speech and photo. What do they call it? The imagery that flashes in front of you, subliminal messaging. And it's all used in concert to try and change people's ideas of what is true and what is good and what is just in this world. Because the people on the left really think they are doing the right thing, and they think Trump is really this madman because they've been programmed to think that. I go back to when the Branch Davidian massacre happened. For 51 days, we were told that David Koresh and his cult following were keeping children hostage and mistreating these children and doing bad things. And it comes out later, well, maybe David Koresh wasn't the greatest guy in the world, but those little kids didn't deserve to be burned up. And the people living in there were not bad people. They were just wanting a place to pray and try to live out their lives. And they definitely didn't deserve to be massacred by the ATF because they had a failed, because they wanted a little show. They wanted a show to show, oh, we need all this funding. So after that didn't work and they got pushed back by real Americans, they had to go on a demonization campaign. And you see that same demonization campaign being carried out against Trump and thereby Trump supporters. So there you go. There's a really good documentary on it. And, I don't believe David Koresh was perfect. I don't believe he needed to be gunned down and burned up inside his compound. And nor his followers. I think if they really wanted him, they could have gone through the sheriff and got David Koresh at any time. They just wanted a big show, which is how the government likes to do things. That's why you see the FBI every 6 weeks or so bust up a terror plot. That always seems to be the work of an FBI informant. It's those types of things. They keep these things moving in this cycle, and it's a big swamp. So it's going to take a lot of work. And Trump can't do it alone. That's why we need more people who are on the right side of history and not just trying to play politics. And I think that's one of the problems with Trump is the people he's got around him don't really have the country's best interest in heart. They're ladder climbers. And I think that's a shame. But I don't know if I answered your question there, but I think it's a whole confluence of facets that are being used to really just screw up the American people and screw up the world too. I mean, this is a worldwide phenomenon we're seeing now. And it is due to these phones. Definitely, I agree.
Serving with InfoWars is a great honor, but I still need my morning coffee. And luckily, our break room at the InfoWars headquarters is stocked full of high-quality InfoWars Store Patriot Blend coffee. Grown in the high mountains of southern Mexico, the Chiapas farmers grow 100% organic, non-GMO coffee at the ideal altitude for the perfect cup. A robust coffee with great flavor and mild acidity. There has never been a more important time to support InfoWars. So if you love coffee and if you want to fight for freedom, then you can help. Order now at the InfoWars store. Sign up for AutoShip and get your own high-quality supply of Patriot Blend coffee delivered right to your door at InfoWarsStore.com.